Hey, welcome back to Diabolic Shrimp, the least professional talk show on the internet. I'm your host, bestselling author and comic creator Josh Grant, and welcome back to Monday's Tartar Sauce. In this latest edition of Monday's Tartar Sauce, we always get people on here, several guests that are experts in the field, and we discuss some sort of genre or type of thing. And tonight we get to discuss near and dear to everyone's heart, hopefully, is love and drama and romance. And so we're going to dive into all of those things. If you're someone who stumbled onto Diabolic Shrimp and have no idea what this is, then this is Diabolic Shrimp. We're connected to the website Diabolic Shrimp. We love to interview interesting and famous people from around the world. And so please do, if you have any questions, we're an interactive live show. So if you're watching this live, hop on over there into the live chat over there and send out any questions you have for our wonderful guests. We have several of them. Throw out some questions. We're going to have a little bit of truth or fiction trivia later on and later on in the show. So feel free to participate in that as well. But we have several guests here tonight, and we really want to get into discussing. So let's go ahead and bring them on. Oh, yeah, sorry. Before we jump in there, just one more thing. One of our highlighted books tonight is actually my book, Another Zombie Apocalypse. So if you're, it's not quite a romance, but it does have to do with the heart. It's like blood pumping or something. And so, yes, Another Zombie Apocalypse. We're still running our Kickstarter. You can be drawn as a zombie. So check out my link in the description down below for that. For my Kickstarter there, you can watch our trailer here on the channel, and check out all of our guest books. They're actually down in the link down below. So please do check out their books if they sound interesting to you. Already tonight we have Ingrid. Ingrid says, "Hey Joshua." Ingrid here. Ingrid, it's always so great to hear from you. I haven't heard from you a bit, so I'm really happy to see you. And Krista White, huzzah for zombie books. Oh, Krista, I haven't talked to you in a bit either. Oh, I miss you. I hope everything's going well with you with the new job. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and bring on our guests and talk a little bit of love, romance, drama. And again, if you're watching live, throw out those questions. I love bringing you up here. I love making you a part of the show. So, everybody, welcome to Diabolic Shrimp.
Hi.
Hi.
It is so great to have all of you on here on the show. These are all experts. So we're going to go around the table here and just share really quick, just a little bit. So first off, we have down below me here on the channel is T.S. Krupa. And T.S. She wrote things like Big City Dreams is one of the ones I read of hers, and several other books. Some of them are kind of like, Big City Dreams anyway. It was just kind of like moving to the big city, and there's a lot of like life change kind of romance that you tend to write. So T.S., welcome to Diabolic Shrimp.
Thank you for having me.
It's so great to have you. And going around the table here, we also have R.A. Krauszer. And so R.A. Krauszer, one of hers that I really enjoyed was Sparrow, and also Remember When. I read that one as well. Mm-hmm. And so R.A., you tend to write kind of like a young and new adult kind of a romance and drama. But I mean, I'm kind of shoehorning you guys. That you write more than that, I know. But it's just like that tends to be some of yours if people are interested more in that those types of genres. So R.A., welcome to Diabolic Shrimp.
Thank you.
It's great to have you. And so, last up here, we have Laurel Ostiguy. And Laurel, The Last Goodbye is kind of that. She has a whole series, actually. But The Last Goodbye is one of the ones I've read. But there's like several in that series, although they kind of follow different characters. So it's like a series, but it also has like some different characters too that it follows. And so and it's kind of like romance and a bit of intrigue as well, thrown in there as well. So Laura, welcome to Diabolic Shrimp.
Thank you. Thanks.
Well, we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Tonight, I'm going to throw out some questions there for all of you. Again, for anyone in the live chat, at any point, if you have questions, put them in the live chat there. We'll put these people on the hot seat, and we'll get your questions answered if you love romance and all things dramatic. And so I throw drama in there, but it's a lot. It could be a lot of romance as well. It's near and dear to the heart. And so first off, there's a vast variety of romance out there, as we can see just with this group of people, right? All of your romance is very different from each other's, and so there's a lot of variety of romance out there, and different kind of philosophies around romance and writing romance. And there's the old saying, "The road to romance ought never be smooth." So, do you prefer like an easygoing romance, or do you kind of like to throw in lots of challenges in there? And I'm going to open this up to anyone. So is there anyone that would like to jump in there? What do you prefer? Like, do you prefer kind of more of an easy, more straightforward romance, or do you like to have a lot of challenges and before you kind of get to any of that?
Lots of challenges.
All right, Laurel, let's go with you first. Thanks for being
sorry, Tia. Yeah,
No, go for it.
yeah. It's got to be challenges. I mean, I love to read when I like to read, and so I think you write what you like to read,
Yeah.
Or watch like a movie or something. So I always love the challenges. You know, it's got to take a lot to get to something good.
Yeah.
And even when you get there, I like when it goes back and forth a little bit, and maybe it's not solidified right away, and then the challenge continues. So.
Interesting. See, I always squirm around with that. I'm like, just say what you were feeling.
Yeah, no.
Say you love them. So, what about you, TS? You were kind of jumping in for a second there.
No, I agree. I think if it's too easy, I think you lose the reader. So I think you do have to have some challenges, and if you can try to do something unexpected, it just kind of helps. But in the end, at least for me, I always like to write a happy ending. So I think we'll always get there in the end, but it's never going to be a quick journey.
Yeah. What about you, RA? What are your feelings on it?
Definitely some drama. I mean, it doesn't always have to be like major conflicts, but I think, like TS said, if it's too easy, it's like, okay, well, where's it going from here? Because life isn't easy. Life is messy.
Too messy sometimes.
Sometimes, yes.
So, all right. Well, I'm curious then. So it's like, if you want to throw in some of these like challenges, like I'm curious from all of you, like when you're kind of plotting your book, are you kind of the person that tends to like, do you kind of see the whole romance so you kind of know where that's going? Kind of like TS, you said you like those happy endings in there. Or is it like, do you like to leave a little bit of that room for like, for yourself, even when you're writing it? Like, I'm just going to start writing this and kind of see where it goes. I mean, that is kind of like philosophies for some people in their romance, just in real life too. It's like, I don't want to like plan as much. Let's just kind of see where this goes. So what are your feelings? Let's throw that back to Laurel again, since you were brave enough to go first. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I like to leave a little room. I think it's interesting how much you think a story is going to go, and then all of a sudden, the next few pages, you're like, oh, well, that took a little turn. So I like to I think that's what creativity is all about, is that it changes constantly. I never go into anything with such a set mind that I'm unwilling to just go where my words are taking me or my thoughts. And so I think that's important for me, at least. I've mapped things out, and then the next thing I know, I'm completely changing things. So,
yeah, I was like, I think that's been my best inspiration sometimes in books, is like the ones I guess I didn't see coming. I already had a plan, but then something changed. I'm like, oh, it's just too perfect, and I have to do that. What about you, RA? We'll go back around the other way around.
I've tried the whole planning thing. It doesn't always work. It'll work in steps. But the one thing I've found myself doing in the 3 books so far that I've done is there's always a bit of part of my life that I've put in each one of them.
Nice. I was like, well, and good on you for putting yourself out there. It's like we're all writers here, and you definitely put a little bit of yourself into the book. Of course, it's part of your soul a little bit, but it's I'm just always fascinated by romance, because it's not a genre. I always have romance in my books, but it's like it's not a genre I necessarily focus on, I guess. And so I give you such kudos, because it's like all of you. It's like because I have a hard time sometimes writing the romance piece of it and putting yourself out there and putting some of what you have in there. It's like you kind of have to, and it's like I have a hard time doing that. I'm very closed off on that side of my life, sharing romance with people. So good on you. What about you, TS? What are your feelings on do you just kind of plan it, or just kind of go with it?
I'm probably the worst planner. So I'm sure there are English teachers or creative teachers out there like shuddering right now. I always have like a 50,000 foot view of kind of like the big things I want to touch upon. But as far as like writing, I kind of sit down and just like, oh, okay, we're going down this road now. Let's see where this goes, and just kind of follow the characters as they're evolving and interacting with each other. And sometimes it even surprises me where we end up.
Yeah, well, and I'm like, I think I've done too many like Venn diagrams or plans or whatever that I'm scared of planning now. It's like I just don't do it, and so and I just kind of have it up in my brain and see where it goes, I guess. So okay, well, let's jump around here. Talking about plans, I guess it's like I find so for me personally, like writing some of my stuff, I've actually found it more like anxiety driving to like write a sequel to my books. Like I always have plans for series, for like all my books are pretty much series, but I love starting things, but then I have such a hard time like continuing into a further series. And so I'm fascinated for all of you, because I think romance is a challenging genre for like continuing a series sometimes, because it's like it's part of the fun of like, oh, do they like me? They not like me, or some of that intrigue, but once you're actually like in a relationship, it's like it's a little bit challenging to kind of like continuing that around. So I'm curious for you all, and we'll actually start with TS on this one. I'm curious for you all, like do you want to turn any of your books more into a series, or do you prefer kind of sticking with like bouncing around or whatever, or do you prefer like starting series, I guess, just to say, or would you want to continue it, or do you enjoy continuing that, or what are the challenges to continuing that in romance? Like if they're already in that relationship, what are the challenges of showing that and making it still interesting? So sorry, I know that's a lot to you, so I'm going to throw that to you though.
No, I mean, so far my books have all been standalone, so I think I echo your sentiment that for me personally, I've been a little intimidated by doing a sequel, because I'm afraid I'll lose like the character's voice, or like to go back in time when I wrote some of the books that I would do a sequel, I'm like, can I capture that same sentiment? So for me, kind of what I've done over the books is they're standalone books. They're completely set in different cities, characters, but I have dropped Easter eggs in all my books about previous characters from other books. So if anyone has read them all, they can kind of check in on the other characters without having to read a full book about them. That's fun.
And so here, we'll get to Krista's question in just a second. I'll let Laurel answer, and then we'll jump to Krista, and then we'll come back to you, R.A. So Laurel, what are your thoughts on it? Like on continuing a series?
Yeah, so I've only written a series. So I'm actually working on the 5th in my series, which will be the last.
Okay, well, yeah. That's exciting to kind of cap it off.
Which unfortunately, because I really love the characters. But I think for me, I mean, I wouldn't say it was a little easier of a decision, but when you write a series in college, I mean, there is a component where typically it's a 4-year, journey. So the whole basis is that they start from freshman to senior year. So I think for me, it was the beginning was the freshman year, and then I didn't write the first book saying I'm going to write a series, but I think one of my beta readers said, you have a really good idea here. And I think there's a lot of, ideas for different characters to start developing them. And it was actually her idea to say, I think you should take what happened to one of the characters in the first book and really let us know more about it. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. And then the next thing I know, I'm, writing my 5th book. So,
so what are your feelings then? What are your feelings? You're about to cap off your series, and that's hard. Yes. It's like, I imagine there's emotions around that. So what are your emotions around ending that? Are you excited to start something new, or are you just like, are you just focused on finishing it? Or?
Yeah, I'm focused on finishing it, but I'm really actually sad. I have to be honest with it. Like, they're almost real to me. I mean, I live and breathe them. I dream about them. It's like, I actually go to bed at night thinking, okay, what's going to happen next? And I'm really going to take my time with this last one, because not that I haven't the other ones, but this last book that I just published in August was 600 and something pages, because I had so much of their junior year to get out. So I actually split it into 2 parts. But yeah, the last book it's going to be a lot. It's going to be hard for me to end it. But it's bittersweet.
I'm cheering for you though, Laurel, because I was like, I'm the guy that, like I said, I start a bunch of series and I never like finish anything. I'm like getting around.
Yeah,
to
I'm actually really excited. Yeah,
I don't know
great,
what that feels like. I'm really excited to see. Well, I'm excited to read it now. Actually, I got to get through some more of your series though, because I started your series and I haven't gotten to the later ones yet. And so here, Andrea Hintz, by the way, welcome, Andrea. It's always great to have you. Wonderful, supportive author, by the way, for everyone on here. If you ever want to reach out to Andrea, she's very supportive of other people. And so Andrea Hintz, I love the Easter eggs. She was talking about T.S. Krupa's answer there, I believe. Great way to give the readers a glimpse. I actually always love these, like when there's like hints of like, this is a bigger universe. I love how RA is bringing the fun to this. I was like, I love having cats on the show. I think I'm going to make it a requirement that everyone's required to bring in their pet to the show. And so jumping on here, by the way, also Andrew also says, I like Krista's question, which is right here coming up. It's kind of a big one, so hopefully it doesn't cover us up. So Krista, also a wonderful, supportive person that I've always a good friend of mine, Krista. I really appreciate her. And even though her dog stared at me intensely and was scary. So Krista says, I love to hear your takes on writing your female characters in this romance genre. Do you tend more towards a Jane Eyre, I am not worthy mentality, or a stronger, you better earn it persona? Ooh, that's a good one. And I'm just going to leave this one a bit open to anyone that would like to jump in.
I can maybe start us off.
Please do.
I think I've explored different female characters from different point of views in each of my novels for this very reason. So in like my first book, Safe and Sound, the main character goes through a great loss and kind of needs someone to come and save her. But in the last one that Josh, you referenced that you've read, that main character is very independent, very sassy, I'm not taking guff from anybody. So I think for me, the fun of writing standalone has been to explore this kind of trope in different ways.
Fun.
To never write the same character twice.
Definitely. I was like, well, yeah, I'm always in any romance that ends up in my books, it's like I'm always trying to have this like tough, this like female character, but she always ends up being like she ends up coming off as mean, and I always had to pull her back. And it's like she's tough and she's strong, but I always try and capture that balance between tough and strong and vulnerable that we all have, and I do that in all my characters. But it's like when I try and tough and strong for any of my characters, for that matter, is like even the male ones, like they always just come off as mean. And so it's always hard to find that like balance. I'm like, apparently in my mind, tough and strong just means being mean to people. So what about you, RA? So sorry, you're muted for a second.
I kind of tend to make it so they hit kind of on both throughout different points. Like if they're going through a hard time as far as like lifestyle, like if they're struggling with something, being a female, they're going to go through those moments where they don't feel worthy. But in the end, they're going to realize, oh, you know what, I am. And they're going to be strong enough to tell whoever it may be, their spouse or their friend, you know what, I'm not going to put up with that. If you want to be in my life, this is how I need to be treated.
That's what I want everyone to just adopt that tone the entire time on this show. Don't let me give you any carp, here. And so Andrea, by the way, is jumping in and says it's a real talent to write a different character from book to book. It can be easy to replicate similar protagonists. So let's turn that into a question here. I'll throw that back up there. For all of you, and you're welcome to answer Krista's question too, Laurel, since we didn't get down to you as well. But for all of you, how do you kind of differentiate some of your different characters? Because I notice as a writer, right, myself, it's like as I write, especially as I write a series. So Laurel, you might have some insight into this. It's like as I write, all my characters start to blend into like one character. They all start to become the same person. I always had to like go back and be like, turn them back into themselves. So how do you kind of differentiate your characters? Do you have a method of that?
Excuse me. I think for me, because there's so many of them in college, you do have to differentiate them. You have to have the stronger girlfriend. You have to have the one that's a little quieter. You have to sort of separate them, or they're all going to blend together. I can't say enough how much I listen to my beta readers. So when I give my novel over, I'll really take the feedback very seriously. If they tell me that they're starting to blend or they don't hear their voice, that's where I really go back and I'll try and rewrite them a little differently. But I take a lot of notes on them, so I'll describe them, hair color, and I keep that all separate. But then envisioning them too, right? They all have to have a different voice, a different style, their sarcasm, the sweetness, the shyness. Like, I think all of that really will separate them. And then you have to think about your group of friends, because I think that's why you have different groups of friends, because you're all not alike. And there's always a friend that's a little louder. There's always a friend that's a little quieter. And so I almost like envision that happening in a scenario and sort of write one of them to be a certain after kind of those people. Not necessarily a specific person, but I think that helps a lot, is to sort of envision a group of people and how that person's going to set themselves apart from others. And then the style, how they talk, I think is really important, because if they all say the same thing, everyone has to have a different style.
Well, and you kind of say, like, kind of basing it on these, some of your experience and people, RA, I'm curious, because you said a lot of this romance is your heart and in your life. So how do you balance that, I guess, or how much is kind of real and how much is kind of like you kind of make it up?
So a lot of, for example,
and please do, for any of you, hold up your books. Again, if you're watching this, if you just tuned in, because I know some people have been tuning in, their links are down below. So check out their books, because these are all fantastic writers. I have read something for every one of them, and excellent writers. So remember when I like that one.
Yes.
Beautiful cover.
Thank you. The true part of it is the Irish side. So my stepdad, he's Irish. So I was able to pull a lot of that in, and some of the drama that happened in the book is stuff that I went through in a past relationship. And so it was kind of a form of therapy for me to be able to get it out on the page and see it.
Well, I'm so impressed with that. I know, especially some of my moments of better writing or being more connected with some of my books have been tough things I've been through, and I wrote that into some of my characters as well. But it takes a lot sometimes putting it out there. And so thank you for doing that, because I think that's just so helpful for all of us sometimes to see. It's like, yeah, romance is good. We want to end it well, and sometimes it's good to see some of this stuff that's real too, and putting that in there. And so for all of you here, I'll kind of throw it back to all of you, and RA, feel free to jump back in. I didn't mean to, I hope I didn't cut you off there. And so for all you, what gets your heart pumping in writing in this genre, and why write in this genre? What has inspired you to jump in there? And RA, we'll start with you, since I kind of cut you off a bit.
Again, I love the romance. I don't have a good past, so I kind of live vicariously through that. And so it's kind of, how can I say this? Kind of what I wanted as a teenager, going through high school. I mean, not exactly, but I didn't want to be the popular girl, but I did want to be the girl that people saw. I didn't have to be the cheerleader or anything like that, but I didn't want to be the wallflower either. So kind of living vicariously through my characters.
Nice. Well, and that's I think that's the beauty of writing sometimes, and in reading for all of our readers out there. It's like exploring a whole different world sometimes than what you get to experience yourself. So, what about you, TS? And then Laurel, we'll get down to you as well.
I think for me personally, I was in denial, I think, for a while about writing, because I've always written like middle school, high school, and my parents are like, "You're going to be a writer," and I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm going to go be a doctor or something else, like something in left field." And I think that if you have that creativity or those voices in your head, they're going to find a way to manifest, and writing them down is finally the way that I can get the most peaceful sleep without thinking about different storylines. And I was doing it before I knew that's what I was doing. But for now, it's become kind of an outlet. Up until recently, I wasn't writing full time. It was kind of a hobby or something I did in the evenings. And so it was an outlet to the stress of the day or what was going on, with the normal adult people drama. So it was just a way to escape that and kind of decompress. And so it's kind of turned into more than that. So I'm forever grateful that that's kind of like life was telling me, no, this is what you need to be doing.
Yeah, well, and you're excellent at it too. And but good on you. I was like, I think writing's the opposite for me. I started with horror for whatever reason, and even though I'm a scaredy cat, and when you work on a horror book for a whole year, I'm pretty sure I'm going to need like an outlet to help me recover from that, because it's like writing dark stuff constantly for hours. It's like, so that's why I write all young adult sci-fi and fantasy these days. And so, Laurel, what about you? Why did you get into this genre? Or what gets your heart pumping in it?
It's kind of similar to TS. I had a story in my head that I kept thinking about constantly. And so it wasn't necessarily the genre but I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I thought I just have to start writing it. So, but yeah, I mean, I think romance is always a big part of a lot of people's story in general. I mean, you could watch an action movie. I love James Bond movies, and there's a huge romance component to that. So I don't know if people would put that in the romance, department, but so I think just in general, it's always a part of a lot of stories. And I just couldn't stop thinking about this particular story. And I always wanted to write a book based in college in the 1990s, before there were cell phones and Facebook and all that, because I just thought that would be a much simpler time. And, that kind of gets my heart pumping, is when there's it's a lot more difficult, right, to meet people, to engage with people. I didn't want to write anything that had to do with text messages or finding people on social media. I really wanted to take all of that component out. So they really have to find each other and talk a lot more face to face. And that kind of gets my heart pumping, because it reminds me of how it used to be. And I really like that part of it.
Yeah. Well, and I feel you on that. It's like it's also like, it's difficult too nowadays, because it's like you can send a text and you can see when they read it, so it adds all that intrigue. Like I know they read it and they didn't call me back.
Exactly. I didn't want any of that part of it. I didn't want to write anything like, and not to say that someday I won't write a book like that, but I just didn't want to.
Book 6 is coming. You'll start the series up again.
Text message books.
So, all right. Well, and you kind of brought up a good point, Laurel. I'm curious from any of you. Do you think is there any genre that romance doesn't infiltrate? Because I kind of feel like romance is that one genre that can literally be in everything else. It's like everything is technically romance, or it could be. Like it's not everything has a romance in it, but it's like. But do you think is there any genre that romance, like, it's barred from? It can't infiltrate. Can you think of any?
I mean, look, I was going to say my first instinct was horror, but then I thought, how do teenagers get killed in horror movies? Romance, right?
I was going to say, I was like, my horror books, actually, I was like, they're the most romance, I think, of all my writing, weirdly enough. And so, jumping in, we're actually about to jump into our kind of user questions, our audience questions, right? So audience, if you're watching, go ahead and throw your questions over there in the live chat. We'd love to be interactive with you. I have a few that I've gotten before. Andrew Hintz, by the way, says, vicarious living through writing is a true gift that most people don't get to experience. I agree. I think everyone should write a book. I was like, even if you never show it to anybody, I think you get a deeper knowledge almost when you kind of write, and it's kind of exploring your feelings sometimes. And so a deeper look at humanity. So here we go. And I'll throw this always out to all of you. Feel free to jump in and answer. Feel free to lay back. If you don't have an answer, you can just hang out for a second too. So this one's from anonymous, an anonymous user. And they said, what is your dating advice? This is turning into a dating channel. All right. What is your dating advice? Just in general.
I didn't really date my husband, but he was my best friend.
That is good advice. Yeah, you got to be friends.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean,
I think that's smart.
He was literally my best friend before anything.
I think that's profound, and we'll jump to the next one here. I have to say the same thing. I've fallen in love a couple of times in life, but I think the difference between love and just attraction is friendship, and I think that's all great romances, I think, are built on friendship and reality. And we're going to differentiate reality and writing, because sometimes it's like writing is this other world that we can just kind of play around in, versus real life romance can be very different, actually.
If I can jump in, I guess I would add, and this might be a little past dating because it's been a hot minute since I dated.
I've never dated really, so I'm like
the apps that exist now. But I think you need to know when to pick your battles. Like we have this family couple that, this sounds stupid, but they brush their teeth differently. Like one squeezes from the bottom of the tube and rolls it up, and the other one's like a middle of the tube kind of a squeezer, and that would irritate them. And they just learned, we're just going to buy 2 different tubes of toothpaste and do our own thing, and just like cut that frustration that builds on other things out of the way. So I would just say, learn to pick the battles that are important, because a tube of toothpaste is something that crumbles a relationship.
I think that's actually most important in a relationship, is how they brush their teeth. Ask them that right off the bat. Both those answers are wrong. You have to squeeze at the top of the toothpaste. It's like right by the nozzles. So if you don't do that, if they're a complete psycho, get out of there. Like, block them from your app.
And now you know.
Andrea, by the way, is laughing at your answer there about the toothpaste. And so Andrea, by the way, is asking, do you personally believe in the romances and happy endings in your books? So
no, I mean, mine don't all have it. But
anyone else?
I try and always make sure there's some sort of happy ending.
I do. I believe in a happy ending. I mean, I grew up in an era of Disney and Hallmark movies. And so, and I like to write what I would want to read. So, there's so much drama in life that I always, when I pick up a book, I want that happy ending. I want to be transported for a little bit. So
nice. I was like, it depends on what I'm writing, I guess, because I include romance in all my things, and that is actually a focus in some of my books, even though I don't make it I try to kind of make it as subtle as I can in there. It's not like you don't know that you're going into a romance, even though some of them are. But I've had a few that don't end happy, and I was sad about it when I was writing it, but I was like, oh, it has to be that way. It's like just the way it's going.
Little lessons too. It's good.
Yeah. Well, and it makes me sad though, because I'm a big fan of the happy ending, and I think love conquers all. So I think it gets there eventually. So all right. So this one, Scarfin Z, I think. Scarfins. I don't know. Scarfin Z. What's the difference? Oh, okay. It's kind of similar to what we were just talking about. What's the difference between a written romance and a real life romance? Is there a difference?
I think that a real life romance is much more messy.
Yeah.
Much messier.
There's probably more TV involved in a real life romance.
It's all toothpaste.
It's all toothpaste and TV.
Screaming.
I'm going to try and write a romance now that's going to be nothing but text messages, TV, and toothpaste. That's going to be the title.
The 3 T's.
Yeah. Triple T romance. All right. And Anotin. I think it's Anotin. It's got like a squiggle thing on it. Break up or work on it.
Work on it.
Ooh,
I guess I'm a huge believer in working on things and taking a hard look at the truth of like, what is it that's the issue? Is it something like toothpaste, right? It's like, then work on it, right? If it's something, if your foundation is on nothing, if there is no friendship or care there, then it's time to get out of it, I think. But I don't know, what are your thoughts? You're all the experts more than me. It's like,
I think if it can be worked on, work on it. But if you know that no matter what you do, then it's best to just walk away.
Yeah, I think work on it. If it's not working, walk away. And if it was meant to be, it'll circle back at some point later in life, maybe when people are in different places in their life or something like that. But
nice. And if they squeeze their toothpaste from anywhere but the top, it's just get out of there, run.
I'm gonna rename this episode too.
This is what I'm pulling. I try to pull something out of every episode. I'm learning in my own writing, and that's the one thing I've got out of it. So I'm really gonna. I'm gonna be brushing my teeth later and just like really thinking about it. Like, where do I squeeze the toothpaste?
Yes,
it's
just let the toddler do it.
Yeah. Kids, go ahead. Can you put toothpaste on my thing? No. All right. Here, this next one. I think it's Teza Cordo. Says, I love the Hallmark Channel. And so we're back to the Hallmark Channel now. So I love the Hallmark Channel. Will your book be seen on the Hallmark Channel? So I guess in a way, it's like, is yours the type of romance or book that you might see on a Hallmark movie?
For me, yes. I love for someday to be on the Hallmark Channel. So if you know anyone, no, but I mean, I don't know if Laurel and RA feel this way, but when I write, I sometimes be like, this would be a good CW series. This would be a good Hallmark. This would be a big, major motion picture. So like in the back of your head, you're kind of envisioning
C-SPAN romance.
Yeah. Like, if this were to grow wings, like what would be the trajectory of this book?
Yep.
I would like one of my books to eventually be on Hallmark, but the ones that I have right now, I don't think they would be fitting for Hallmark.
And Laurel, you were kind of agreeing with?
Yeah, not just, I mean, college 90s, it's just not, it wouldn't be probably appropriate. No, it wouldn't be appropriate.
More MTV, I think, is
yeah.
So, all right, this one's kind of interesting. A1239 says, I think it's a robot, but it says, "What is love?" That's it. What is love? Like, what I guess.
We're gonna do Wedding Crashers, like the counterpoint between two people. What does he say?
So I guess I would say like I guess how would you define? Because I kind of said it earlier a little bit of the difference between love and attraction. I guess how would you say what's the difference between love and attraction, or is there a difference?
I think you can be attracted to someone but not love them, because I think attraction is more of a physical feature. Okay. But love is deeper. So
would you feel then that attraction builds love, or the other way around? Would you say love builds attraction, or are both true?
I think you have to have some attraction within love.
Okay.
Yes.
But I think love evolves. So the love you feel when you first start dating someone, and then the love you feel after you've been with someone for 20, 30 years is going to be a different definition of what love is. And it may depend. People may be looking for different things out of love.
Right.
Yeah. I was about to bring up the toothpaste again. Like, it's really that for me, honestly. I mean, if you squeeze the toothpaste right, then you're good in my book. Yep. So all right, and our last audience question, and again, if anyone in our live audience, I know several people are watching. If you want to throw a question in the live chat, feel free to do it at any time. Our last one, pre-submitted one, was from also anonymous, and it says, "Best romance you've seen." I guess scene would be, I mean, I would throw that out there to books as well. So if there's a really good romance book that you really enjoyed, then you can bring that up. But it might be movies that they're looking at, or maybe in real life. I don't know. Best romance you've seen.
One of my favorite movies is Because I Said So.
Okay, I don't know that one actually. I watched a decent amount of romance actually, but I was like, I don't know that one actually.
I don't know if it would be necessarily considered a romance, but there's lots of romance in it.
Okay.
But it's very cute. It's very lifelike, I guess you can say. It's got Mandy Moore in it, Lauren Graham, and several other very well-known actors. But it's one of my favorite movies. That and Remember, A Walk to Remember.
That's mine.
Aww.
Also Mandy Moore, but like cry every time without question.
How about you, Laurel?
I'm trying to think of a movie, which is sad because I do like a lot of romance movies, but I would say a great series that I've seen recently in the last couple of years that the couple I find absolutely fabulous together is Outlander on Stars.
Okay, I've heard of that one.
It's the romantic couple. Jamie and Claire are just their love story is absolutely beautiful, and the setting and the time period. It's like it's a gorgeous couple, and I think the romance is really beautiful, sexy. It's everything about it. It's a great series. I would say that's one of my top. Yeah,
nice. And so, all right. Well, here let's. Speaking of some of these romance, here we go. Andrea again. Andrea says, "Elf, classic."
That is true.
Good Christmas romance, and so Elf. I don't know. Elf caused a whole bunch of like car crashes in like New York when they were filming it. He was walking down as like an elf, and everyone was like looking like, "Is that Will Ferrell as an elf?" And they all just slammed into each other, and it was like caused a bunch of them. So it's a bit of a car wreck for a romance, if you ask me. So all right, so we're gonna play a little bit of trivia here, and we're gonna do trivia this month. We're gonna do it just a little bit differently than we normally do on Monday's Tartar Sauce. And so audience, feel free to play along as well. True or false is what we're going to do. So this is this is kind of like a romantic trivia, I guess, about some famous romances or just general romance questions. And you're going to either go for true or false after I read a statement. And so if you think it's true, like hold up your hands and be like, true, so I can see you, so I can write your points down or whatever if you're correct. And if you think it's false, you have to look really skeptical. You have to look at them like you're watching somebody put their toothpaste on wrong, and you can be like, false. Okay, look really skeptical. Okay, and so I'm going to read these statements, and I'm going to look around and like I said, true or false. Okay, and so throw it out there so it's easy for me to see, and we'll see who ends up with the most points. Because you'll get a point if you were correct. You won't lose a point if you were wrong or anything like that. So feel free to just guess away. So here comes the statements. Any quick questions before we start? Good. Audience, you can write true or false. I don't know if these people could see it, but it's okay. Just write true or false out there. Let's see how many points you get to. And so, all right, true or false? The world's longest, excuse me, sorry. The world's wow, I can't say longest apparently. And so the world's longest recorded marriage lasted 90 years.
True.
All right, we're off to a rough start. That is false. And so it actually lasted 86 years, which is also incredibly impressive. I don't know what
it is.
I don't know what that is. It's like you get 50 years, it's gold. It's like 25 is like silver. I don't know what they give 86 years. I think you get like the Medal of Honor or something. I don't know. So there, here we go. True or false? So even our audience isn't getting it yet. So that last one was false. So true or false? There has never been a romantic couple on the International Space Station at the same time. Romantic couple being like people in a relationship or people that are married.
I think that's true.
All right. A point to Laurel and RA because that is actually false. There is a married couple. Was Shannon Walker and Andy Thomas were actually up there at the same time. They were a married couple. So I got to look these up earlier, so I learned a lot. So I always get to be the person that knows them all. So don't feel bad if you don't get any of these. All right. So true or false? The ancient Trojan War started because of an affair.
True.
So everyone gets a point on this one. There was an affair happening between Paris and Helen of Troy, and he went and brought her in away, and she had kind of a mean husband, from my opinion, from looking at the history. So I think she was good getting out of there. So out of this world romance, Andrea says about the last one. I agree. Andrea also gets a point because she got true on this last one. So, all right, true or false? Famous criminals Bonnie and Clyde were in love.
True.
And everyone's correct on that one. Yes, they were in love, although Bonnie was actually married to somebody else. So that was another conflict started from an affair. So next one, true or false? I just got that one. True or false? OxyContin is known as the love hormone. That looks like some skepticism. You can say false too, because all the time I'm like, are they thinking? Are they not? You are correct on that one. So it's actually oxytocin. Oxytocin is known as the love hormone. It's actually what friendship and love is built out of, what's called oxytocin in your brain. So it's kind of cool. You can actually heal other people through showing like care and stuff, because it builds oxytocin. It's really bizarre how it works. Anyways, so true or false? All United States presidents have been married. All right. Well, that's RA gets a point on that one ahead of everybody else. There was actually, it's false. There was actually one president, James Buchanan, just before the Civil War. He was the only bachelor. Every other president has been married when they were in office, at least. And so, true or false? Though in love, Cleopatra and Mark Antony never married. All right, RA's chiming out for love here because they actually did get married, and it caused actually a whole bunch of problems in the time. And so, again, I had to look all these up. I actually learned a lot about these romances. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And so, all right, we only have 3 more questions, and currently the standings: RA is in the lead. Laurel is right in the middle. TS, you're just behind, but it's actually very close. It's all within these points. So let's see. This is all within just in like 1 or 2 points. And so, all right. True or false? Michael Jackson was voted through a collection of polls as the most romantic singer of all time.
False.
Please say false.
All of you get a point because that is actually false. Now, bonus, does anyone have a guess as to who was voted as the most romantic singer of all time?
I heard at one point that may have been Michael Bolton, but I don't know how true that is.
All right, RA says Michael Bolton. TS, Laurel, you have a guess by any chance?
Is it Michael Bolton?
Julio Iglesias?
Julio Iglesias, okay. And so, well, it was actually Elvis. Elvis was voted as the most romantic singer of all time. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
One of his is always
Kind of
played.
swoony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I just thought he was a little bit more like fast paced.
Yeah.
I don't know. So Andrew guessed Frank Sinatra. Actually, Frank Sinatra I thought would have been more than Elvis, but I thought Elvis is kind of played at weddings a lot though. So all right. Here we go. The last two questions. It's getting tight with this race. We're kind of still in the same standpoint though. So the top, true or false? The top ranked love song of all time is I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston.
Is it by Whitney Houston or Dolly Parton? Or is that part of the...
I think this is the Whitney Houston version or something. All right. T.S. Laurel, you got a point. And so it's, apparently it was voted I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston. It was voted the most love song of all time, or top grossing love song or something of all time. And so, and last one, there is actually a correct answer to this. So true or false? Love conquers all.
True.
And that is true. And you're all correct on that one. I just thought they'd be fun. And so, wow. All right. That was actually a really close round. So you're all experts in love, of course. And so, RA, you walk away this round this year until next year, I guess. As,
we'll be back.
Queen of love. Everyone else is going to come back, and they're going to be the my version of a tough character. They're going to come back as the mean person, ready to go, ready to fight or whatever. And so, although you guys were up against Andrea got most of these right in the live chat there. So Andrea, you were rocking it over there too. So well, we are running just a little bit low on time. That's why I wanted to kind of speed on through those just a little bit. So I wanted to just jump around. I really appreciate you all coming on the show. Again, if you're watching, all their books are down there in the description. If you had a bit of fun tonight, please do check out their books down there. But for all of you, how else can we support you as a community? Diabolic Shrimp is a really supportive community. Is there something we can do to help you out? Let's start with Laurel on this one.
You're doing it. Having these shows is so fabulous. I really appreciate it. And meeting the two of them was wonderful. So thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. And I did watch one of your other shows the other day, one of the horror ones. So
thanks for jumping into horror.
But it's great. I think anyone that does this, I mean, Josh, you take this out of your time to do this. This is amazing. So this is supporting authors, and I can't thank you enough for that. So I appreciate it. Anyone that joined today.
They're all required to say that while they're on here. So they'll give you an earful later. And so Andrea, by the way, always supportive of other authors. You are also wise, romantic, and amazing. I want to buy all of your books. It's very kind of you, Andrea. And so, all right, TSRA. How else can we support all of you as well? You have to follow up Laurel, so I expect to hear good things about the show now.
I would just tell anyone who's reading their favorite author, whether it's the three of us or someone else, support them, follow them on social media, leave reviews for them on Amazon and Goodreads. Like, I can't tell you how important a little review goes a long way for, the authors that haven't necessarily sold millions of copies of XYZ. So I would just share that that's probably the most important way you can support whoever it is you love following. It also shows them that you're out there, and maybe they'll continue doing what they do because they know there are people who care about what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
Yeah, right. Totally.
RA, you want to piggyback on that?
Yeah. And word of mouth.
Definitely.
Saying, I read this, or whatever.
Well, I appreciate all of you getting on here, playing ball with me with a bit of trivia. I really hope you all go and look differently. I hope our audience as well look differently at toothpaste from now on. So toothpaste is actually the hormone of love, or whatever, it's instead of oxytocin. And so, well, thank you all, RA, TS, Laurel. Thank you all so much for being on Diabolic Shrimp. I'm going to send you all back down below. Hang out for just a second. So. Well, That was our special guest talking all romance. I know some of you are just tuning in. If you haven't had a chance to watch the show, or if you're tuning in a bit later, check out the show. We did a bit of trivia, talked a lot of romance and writing. And if you want to share with these authors or reach out to any of these authors, feel free to check out the links down in the description. They have their books on there. Support them. You're welcome to reach out to me on Diabolic Shrimp. I'll happily pass things along to them if you want to connect with them at all. Leave a comment in the description below if you're tuning in with us just a little bit later. Just really appreciate you as an audience, and we love connecting with you on this show. If you want to support this show or myself, my books are down in the description below as well. Please do, in a free way to support the show, hit that subscribe or like button down below. It's a great way to support us here if you had a lot of fun with it. And we just really appreciate you, all of our readers. And if you want to connect with them, please do leave those comments down below. So thank you so much for joining us. This has been another Diabolic Shrimp.